Thank you, Dr. Kanika. Good morning to all. At the outset, I thank you for including me in the exciting IC. I'm happy to speak on commandments in using local steroids and when to avoid. Corticosteroids can be used in the form of topical medications, periocular steroid injections, intravitreal implant, and antiphoresis. Let's see with case examples. The first is a case about use of topical steroids. Here, a 38-year male presented with a history of recurrent anterior uveitis in 2012 with a history of using topical steroids and anti-glaucoma medications on and off. Examination of the right eye was absolutely fine. The left eye had central KP with AC reaction. Clinically, it looked like a kind of a Poschner-Salzman kind of a picture. So during the acute episode, the patient underwent AC tap, suspecting it's a viral etiology, came negative for HSV, ZV, and CMV. The patient was continued with topical steroids and anti-glaucoma medication, and the patient went back to the referring doctor. Again, in 2016, he was referred to as not responding to topical steroids and anti-glaucoma medication. In spite of the medications, the intraocular pressure was 35 in the left eye, and patient started seeing halos around the light. Confocal revealed central globula with dendritic suggestive of an infective etiology. We repeated the AC tab. This time CMV came positive. In addition to this topical steroids and anti-glaucoma medication, patient was put on this topical anti-CMV treatment, which he did not respond. Subsequently, we have to put him on oral anti-CMV treatment as well. So this is a graph showing in 2014, PCR was negative. The patient was treated locally with multiple recurrences. Here in 2016, when we repeated, CMV was positive and antiviral therapy for the CMV virus was started. Subsequently, you could see there is no recurrence of inflammation. Again, due to the financial constraint, the patient stopped the medication, got the recurrence, again went back to treatment. So in these conditions, antiviral therapy definitely plays a role in reducing the recurrence of inflammation. Just continuing the steroids alone may not be sufficient in controlling this inflammation. This particular person started showing the disc changes as well. The learning point from this case is recurrent anterior uveitis needs to be treated with high index of suspicion. Once AC tap does not rule out viral etiology, we need to keep repeating the test, and using the topical steroids has to be combined with the antiviral therapy. Otherwise, the steroids alone can cause disc changes. Confocal helps in identifying the infective etiology. The next, we'll move on to the case 2. It's about posterior subtenon steroid injection. A 63-year male presented with fever and skin rashes. He gave history of scrotal herpes and is a known diabetic. This is the old record the patient carried. He had a retinitis kind of a lesion, which early hypo with late hyperfluorescence in both eyes. OCT revealed hyperreflectivity with after shadowing effects. So the treating doctor suspected it is a case of post-fever retinitis and periocular steroid PST was given. Subsequently, there was a worsening. At this point, patient was referred to me. And examination at AC reaction and also the viscous reaction. Here we could see the hyperemic disc with retinitis lesion. It's extended compared to what the old report showed. The same changes were seen in both eyes. Suspected viral etiology. OCT showed hyperreflectivity after shadowing with hyperreflective dots involving the full thickness of the retina in the right eye. This is the old record, the posterior subtenons, following which there was worsening of the reaction. So AC tap came positive for the CMV virus. So patient was put on intravitreal along with systemic valganciclovir therapy. In addition to that, patient had persistent CME for which we have to give anti-VEGF injection. Following multiple anti-CMV intravitreal ganciclovir injections along with oral ganciclovir therapy, we could see the resolving retinitis with ERM formation in both eyes. This is the final follow-up. Already the changes have started in. The visual acuity was 660 in both eyes. It is important to check the history of herpes zoster. This particular patient had scrotal herpes which was missed, and PST was given thinking that it is a case of post-fever retinitis. And on top of it, he had a diabetic with systemic immune status was compromised due to uncontrolled sugar. The periocular steroid resulted in reactivation of a viral retinitis. So we need to be careful with injecting periocular steroid injections in suspected or past history of viral infection. Case 3 is about intravitreal triamcinolone acetate injection, IVTA. So case 3 is a known diabetic. She had NPDR with DME with macular edema and also had suprared vein occlusion, for which she was given IVTA by the local retina specialist following the diabetic macular edema. 3.5 weeks following IVTA, she presented with decreased vision and diagnosed of acute retinal necrosis in the left eye. AC-TAP came positive for the varicella zoster virus infection in this patient. OCT shows macular edema and retinal opacification in the retinal periphery with undulation. When we probed the history, she gave history of chickenpox and developed VZV associated acute retinal necrosis and treated with valacyclovir, and lesion resolved with the formation of atrophic retina. She developed a retinal wound. Subsequently, she underwent a VIA surgery to settle a retina. Learning point, always we need to check the previous history of viral infections before injecting depot steroids. And the control of blood sugar is also important. These patients can develop viral reactivation as in the form of acute retinal necrosis as we seen in this case. The case 4 is about Osidex implant, that is intravitreal dexamethasone implant. 60 years May, history of vitrectomy with SF-IOL for a traumatic subluxated IOL with RD in the left eye. Right eye, barrage laser was done for lattice degeneration. Subsequently, patient developed macular edema. It was not responding to anti-VEGF or IVTA, an inadequate response. There was a persistence of CMV with SRF. This particular patient was managed by our retina colleagues. This is a cystoid macular edema. Because of that refractory persistent cystoid macular edema, they decided to go ahead with the Osidex injection. 1 month later, patient presented with smoky vision, seeing moving line in front of the eye. The visual acuity is dropped to 22,000. Anterior segment examination showed corneal edema, DM folds. What we see is something like hypopyon. It is not hypopyon. It is a Osidex implant which has migrated into the anterior chamber, mimicking hypopyon. Anterior segment OCT also showing the implant in the anterior chamber. Patient was advised to avoid prone position. 1 week later, the Osidex migrated back into the posterior segment and the visual acuity has improved to 20 to 200. This is 2 months follow-up. There is a resolution of the macular edema and there was no migration of implant into the anterior chamber. The learning point from this case, dexamethasone implant to be avoided in patients with SF-IOL. We know this has to be avoided, but in this particular patient was refractory to treatment. They took a chance and they injected the SF-IOL. SF-IOL has to be, dexamethasone implant has to be avoided in case of posterior capsular opening, zonular dehiscence or aphakia, and also in cases of steroid responders. Case 5 is a 43-year female, known case of rheumatoid arthritis. She was referred to us by the rheumatologist as a second opinion. Primarily, she's a dentist from US. She was treated for necrotizing scleritis. Initially, she was treated with methotrexate, cyclosporine, and cyclophosphamide. Patient was not responding. They've added posterior subtenon injection to her right eye. Subsequently, they have tried infliximab, adalimumab, which did not work. Secondly, anti-TB drugs and oral steroids were started. At this moment, the patient was not responding to satisfactory level. Then she was referred to us for second opinion. This is a SPK, marginal infiltrate with corneal melt, and also we could see the scleral thinning and scleritis. This is an old record. She had a PUK with active scleritis. At this moment, she received a periocular posterior subtenon injections. Scleral patch graft is failed. When we evaluated negative for most of the organisms, we advised the patient to continue ATT and systemic steroids, and we added JAK kinase inhibitors, baricitinib under cover of antiviral therapy. Subsequently, patient is showing response to treatment. Learning point from this case, better to avoid depot injections in patients with scleritis. In case of necrotizing scleritis, yes, when we are giving injections, we have to choose the site carefully. In a case of a nodular scleritis, we give injection adjacent to the nodules. In a case of a diffuse one, we give the injection in the central portion of the lesion. Coming to the take-home points, we need to have high index of suspicion of etiology in recurrent uveitis, especially when associated with ocular hypertension. Cautious use of topical steroids in cases of CMV anterior uveitis and in steroid responders. Cautious use of depot steroids in patients with unidentified etiology or suspected underlying viral infection or somewhere old history of herpes zoster. Steroid implant to be avoided with zonular dehiscence or aphakia. Thank you for your attention.